Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and you're watching Glenda's Dragon's Den. Today, we have the wonderful Maryanne Savino with us. And before we start with her, though, I just want to say thank you to the audience for being here, for supporting us, for continuing the path, your journey, continuing sharing the messages, and subscribing also and following our guests because that's very important. So you can further get into your path and heal as you need to. It isn't just about me, it's about everyone raising our vibrations and raising the vibrations of Earth in general. So, like I said, we have Maryanne. Hi, Maryanne. How are you?
Glenda, hi everyone. Thanks so much for inviting me to be a guest. I'm excited and very grateful. Happy to be.
Uh, I am grateful you accepted. Thank you. So, my audience always likes to know about the guests, a little bit background, how they got here, what influenced them, what inspired them. So, if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Well, I got on the path of spirit, or I should say, we're always on the path of spirit from the moment we come into the earth plane, and even when we're out in spirit form. But the remembrance happened for me at a very young age due to tragedy with trauma in my family. My father's death actually was the catalyst for me to, question what is going on down here. What am I doing here? Even though I didn't quite understand because I was so little.
Mm-hmm.
But it certainly, as I began to walk my path and grow and notice, like, my friends had dads and was like, where's my dad? How come, I don't have one? What happened to him? Of course, my mom and family were, trying to be protective, and they said that he had passed in a car accident when I was very little, and that's not actually what happened, because during the holiday, I must have been about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years old. It was Christmas, and I went off to bed, and I could hear the adults chatting, and I heard my mom's aunt say something about my father, and it was like, wait a minute, you know, that's not how he died. And they said, she said it was a terrible tragedy, that he was murdered like that, and I don't, anyway. So I cried myself to sleep, and it kind of stayed with me. And then I talked to my mom about it a little bit, and she kind of just didn't know what to say.
Right.
Which, now I understand as an adult why.
Right.
When you're a kid, you want to, they never explained anything to me because they didn't know. My mother even said, I didn't know what to say. So that was kind of helpful in a way, because
Mm-hmm.
it made me feel like, okay, well, that's the reason, and not because I did something wrong.
Right.
So that, of course, led me to a lot of questioning. And then from the moment that the questioning began, I would have these glimpses, these remembrances, because I believe for myself, when I incarnated, even though there's that moment of divine remembrance,
Mm-hmm.
who we are and where we're from originally, mine just, it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And through this, coming in and incarnating, I realized later on it was about forgetting. So it's like I came in with this amnesia. And then as I started to go through these experiences,
Mm-hmm.
my ascension journey started really early. And at that time, I didn't know what was happening because there wasn't any social media or anything, any of it.
Right.
So it's like, as I started walking my path and questioning things and getting these glimpses, it's like, you're here, you've forgotten, but you're here to now remember. It's like you're not just awakening, you're remembering. And you go from this process of awakening to remembering to knowing
Mhm.
and also becoming, if
Mhm.
that kind of makes sense. And so, I wanted to know things. And like I said, back in the day, it was around the 80s, I would say 1986, 1987, especially at the time of the harmonic convergence.
Mhm.
Um, and as I said, back then, we did not have any Facebook, social media, nothing to, now it's everything, you get
Right.
all this information, almost like an oversaturation of. Back then it was hard. So, I began to question some things, and I would ask around, and people would look at me like I was just weird. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. No, it was good that I said that, but they just think I'm strange. So, here I am walking my strange path, which is not so strange at all, we come to find out.
Mhm.
And thinking, okay, well, this is interesting. And of course, I would begin having experiences that at first I thought were dream states, or then I would now say, what is a dream?
Mhm.
Oh, it's just a dream. But what is a dream? It's, to me, it's a place you go to it's like another dimension of a frequency that you experience. And so the first experience I had, that my earliest remembrance, wasn't actually a dream. It was a very real experience. Now, I was only about 4 years of age, and I had a visitation from an angel. And the angel basically said to me that I'm here because he couldn't be here for you. That talking about my dad.
Mhm.
And I did first, I didn't know what was happening. I said, and then I remember very vividly, it was a feminine presence, kind of light, very light feminine presence. And it was at night, and I called her angel in the night. She came to me as an angel in the night, was what. And so I remember having this experience of her coming to tell me that, it's okay. I've been with you from the beginning. Of course, I still was trying to comprehend. Now, here's this
Mhm.
child that's like, wait a second, what is all this? And then, after that, it was pretty obvious that, what we're told and what we think we're here for is not quite at all what it's about. I mean, it just
Right.
appears that way because I guess that, for the human mind, it needs to comprehend something that makes sense
Right.
because it feels otherwise very daunted by it all. So,
Mhm.
um, you know, years later, now we're moving way ahead. And of course, at that time, as I began to grow, as I said, I would start having these physical experiences in my body and all these, symptoms and things that didn't make sense yet. My mom would take me to a doctor and look, there's nothing wrong with her. Everything is fine. But I didn't feel fine.
Right.
So many years later, I had a visitation with my dad. This was the first one, at least that I can remember. The shorter story of it was that I was in a car driving, and it looked like to be maybe a tropical place based on the trees, and everything felt illuminated. Didn't feel
Mm.
typical. And I'm in this beautiful convertible, but the top was up, and it was like a seafoam kind of greenish turquoise color. That's how I remember the vividness of it.
Right.
And I look in the mirror, and I see my father in the back, outstretched with because he had a great smile. He had this huge smile on his face, and I stop the car and I turn around, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Oh my God. Oh my God, you're alive. We have to go tell everyone. So he stopped me. He put his hand, I could feel it. I felt his
Right.
hand literally. He said, no, dear. He said, you're the only one that can see me, and they would never understand.
Wow.
But I just wanted you to know. I get, it's a little uncomfortable at times, but
Right.
he said, I just wanted you to know that just because I can't be here for you, um, I've never really left you. The love never dies.
Beautiful.
And I had my hand, he had his hand here. I put my hand, on his hand, and I could feel it. And I just started to sob, and he said, I have to go now, but I want you to know you're okay, and you're incredible, and you're going to be okay. It's okay. So I went to reach in the back to hold him, to grab him, and I woke up, and I was sitting in the corner of my bed. I don't even know how I was sitting, because obviously when you're asleep you're lying down.
Right.
I had my hands around me,
Oh.
and I was holding myself, and I started rocking back and forth, and I remember, because it was August, and that's the day, that's the month of his birthday.
Mm.
And it was summer, it was hot where I lived in New York City, and it was really hot, but I didn't have my air conditioning on for some reason. I might have had it on, that like when it goes on and off, I don't
Right.
know, or whatever. But I was freezing cold, and I remember shaking and sobbing and feeling a little bit nauseated and thinking, what just happened to me? And I said, well, that was one heck of a dream. And a friend of mine called me. I was still feeling a little out of sorts. So to get further ahead, she said, well, it was probably just an incredible dream. I said, no. I said, it was more than a dream. Or that's when I remember hearing for the first time, I heard myself say, what is a dream?
Mm.
So that experience definitely triggered some trauma, the trauma that was there.
Right.
From feeling of the abandonment and the loss of him, because
Right.
he was supposed to be, to me, I felt like he was supposed to be my lifeline, and he left. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying in therapy to myself, how could he leave me with these people and this craziness, and that I'm stuck here with them, and then he takes off. I was angry and hurt, and now everything is coming up to the surface, and
Mm-hmm.
wow, it's true what they say, that these things are not always as horrible as we think they are.
Right.
It's part of the journey of coming in to have the experience. And that's why I have a bit of a pet peeve when people say, oh, just forget about it. Don't focus on the negative, or something to that effect. And I'm thinking, it's not negative.
Mm.
An experience that our souls are having. We each have our own journey, right? We're each taking
Mm-hmm.
the way that our souls came in to take it. So, it's like having that experience was profound. It made me now even go deeper. I think probably, let's say I was in my 20s. And then after that, I went to Haiti. A friend of mine, her dad worked in the garment district, and he took us. He said, oh, you got to come. It's like the tropical, I'm thinking, oh, here we go with the tropical.
Right.
Oh, okay. So I go to Haiti. I was 22 years of age, and I had a visitation from this elderly woman, and I don't know who she was. And it turns out, and I mean, she literally was sitting on my bed, and I'm by myself thinking, oh my God, this is really scary. What is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And she just had it's sort of a sadness in her face, but underneath it there was light. And the next day, this gentleman, who was Haitian gentleman, told us he's going to this beautiful white voodoo ceremony, as they call it. Would you like to come? I was like, yeah, let's go. I've never been to one, but I certainly, something in me. Well, we go to this ceremony, and there was a priestess, beautiful priestess wearing white, chanting and dancing and clapping, and they had the drumming, and I went into a trance. It's like I felt right in that moment, I felt the shift in my consciousness that, oh my God, it was a shamanic experience now. It's not something I grew up with. As I said, I grew up
Right.
in the Catholic Church. It was completely, and at that point I kind of had left all that. And so
Mm-hmm.
here was my initiation to my divine remembrance, this awakening to remembering, to knowing, to becoming. And then the shamanism, from there, it really took off. And of course, back then I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, well, all right, this was powerful. I'm not sure I understand it, but something in me stirred. And it went from that to learning about the Native American. And then I was taken to Hawaii for Hawaiian shamanism,
Mm-hmm.
the Peruvians and the Africans, and it all started coming in. And then I went back to my Italian roots and realized that because we don't get any of this in the Catholic upbringing,
Right.
there's shamanism in every culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, of course, different, the way the women, it was really more the women in going back into my roots where they were herbalists and midwives and
Right.
healers.
Right.
And so all of this started, all these pieces of the puzzle started coming into my life. And, I won't lie, there were moments, it was frightening and daunting because every time the trauma would surface, there was a part of me that had to like push it down or push it away or get as far away from it. And the more I did that, the more it hit me over the head. And I'm thinking, whoa, this is just a bit too much. I don't know if you remember the movie Contact with Jodie Foster. Did you ever see that?
I saw it. It was a long time ago, but I saw
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Okay, well, that movie was made after my experience with meeting my dad.
Oh.
And it also was made after another experience I had, and it was almost identical. Now this other experience that I had, I was walking. It was again dream state, walking. It was nighttime, and I'm walking down this what looked to be like a residential street, and I turn the corner and I look over to the right and I see, I don't know if it like one of those trams that take you up.
Mm-hmm.
Or seen, okay. So I see this tram and I'm looking and I look and I see what appears to be like a pod, not a ship, but a kind of like the one Jodie Foster went in the movie.
Okay.
This is before the movie came out. So it wasn't like, oh, well, maybe you just thought about it because of the movie. No,
Right.
this was all before that. So I look over and of course, I'm going to go over there and investigate because that's what I do. The door opens this way.
Mm-hmm.
I get in, it closes, and I see this console, what looks like a console. And I have no idea. I don't know how I'm doing this. I start pushing buttons and playing around and looking around and seeing these frequencies on this screen. And the next thing I know, I start moving up. Not straight up, but on this tram. And I said, oh my God, where am I going? Where is this taking me? Well, I look ahead and we're coming up to the very top of it. And I turn around and now the earth is behind me. I could see Mother Earth, the beautiful blue jewel behind me. And now I turn back and now there's no tram. Everything, the residential, all gone. And I see space. I see, basic like wormholes and galaxies and stars and nebulas and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, this is a trip, all right. And I have no idea where I'm going with this. So I see this inside of the pod. There's this circle, and it looked like you could put your hand in it. So of course I put my hand in it. And I put my finger out and I touched one of the stars and it rippled.
Wow.
And I pulled my hand back in because I got hot. It was hot, like a heat. And then I look over to the right and I see two Arcturians in a pod next to me, waving at me and smiling. Oh my God, what is that? I was like, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you taking me? And they're just like, like quirky and laughing. And I'm thinking, wow, this is wild. I'm like, and I'm looking at all these beautiful, they look like jewels, like gemstones throughout the galaxy, and I could see, like I said, wormholes and all that. Okay. So I'm in and I'm looking around and I'm feeling into this energy, and things start getting wobbly inside. It's very similar to what Jodie Foster experienced. And then don't forget, who does she meet? Her dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a similar experience. And now this is, all of this happened before that movie came out. When I woke up, I came out of this, it was the same experience. It was a warm climate day, sunny, whatever. And I was freezing cold. And this time I was so overwhelmed by that. I literally vomited. I had to get up, and I was shaking.
Right.
I felt like I had a flu, and it wasn't. It was an ascension flu is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
Through a frequency shift, for sure, no doubt. So what is the point of all this, right? Well, our souls come in for the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm all about galactic angelics, going back into the past of the gifts that I hold in my DNA and my Akashic records, right? Our souls have a record of every time we've had an experience, whatever form we come in.
Right.
And it's like, earlier on, I was so obsessed with knowing about my galactic history and knowing about my past lives. And I would get really into it deep, but to the point where I noticed myself not being so present here in this life, in this moment of now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But it got to the point where I finally said, okay, whatever I need to know about my past or about now in this here and now is revealed to me.
Right.
And I am certainly open to knowing about my galactic history, because I've had numerous incarnations on different star systems. And I think that, there's all these different variations of creation stories, and I'm not going to say which one is right and which one isn't, because everybody has their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel for myself personally, I've talked about this in numerous interviews and with other people having similar experiences, and a lot of them have said the same thing, like, yeah, that makes sense. That, when they ask you, what's your star of origin?
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a Pleiadian. And I'm like, okay, but are you only a Pleiadian? Did you have, to me, originally I used to think, yeah, okay, my first memory was Pleiades, but that wasn't my only. And then one day I said to Spirit, I'm confused, because so-and-so said this, and this person said that, and this other person said this to me. And I've had a reading with her, and he told me something else. And now I'm so confused and so annoyed because I don't know what to believe. And I stopped and I heard, throw it all away. I'm like, well, I don't want to throw it all away, because I want to know. Just for now, throw it all away. So I took a moment. I said, okay, I'm going to let this go. Took a few deep breaths. I asked Source, I said, please, what can you share with me? Help me remember something. And then I'll do the work, And the first very clear message that came through was, your star of origin has and always will be, first and foremost, Source. We are all from Source. Now, if you ask me what incarnations I've had and where, now that's a whole other thing, because yes, I come from Source. I am a spark of Source now in a human life. But before this human life, I incarnated on various star systems, even other galaxies, other universes that there may not be a name for. We have to put a name on everything, a label. So you know,
It's our human brain. Our human brain.
you want to have a sense. Okay, that's fine. So realizing that, yeah, the older souls have had more incarnations. It doesn't mean that we're higher or better or know more. But yeah, we may have a little bit more experience because the more you incarnate, you take on another experience to grow from, to learn, right?
Correct. Yes.
So going from Pleiadian to Sirian to Andromeda, and even the Mintakan energy of the Elohim angels came in for me very strong. But then when I got to Arcturus, well, my heart started beating so fast. And I, again, began to sob. And I said, I wonder why this is happening and it didn't happen with the others. So I asked my own wisdom, what is this? Oh, this is the place that you feel the most at home. That does not mean you have not been on others,
Right.
other systems, but it is a place that is near and dear to your heart and to your soul.
Right.
You know, I've had memory, soul memory from Lyran. I wouldn't call myself a Lyran per se, but after the, you know, actually it was before the fall, when Lyra was attacked by Draco. I had gone there, not so much incarnation, but I visited.
Right.
And I had a lot of soul memory come up around that I was a grid keeper, that I created, helped to create, co-create with Source and other beings of light, these grids and formations of crystalline to help balance out particular star systems. One of them happened to be Regulus, which is connected to the heart of Leo. It's the heart of Leo. And I, in this life, am a Leo.
Okay.
So it's like all this soul memory, all this, it's like, why did I want to remember it? Because there's gifts. I feel like when something shows up for us like this, an opportunity for us to take these beautiful gifts from our past, what can, not so much what we did then, but how can I utilize them in this life now? But the other thing that's been coming up, and I actually think I wrote about it this morning, it was saying what was coming through was that, you know, we are like, it's like you feel homesick for a place that you sort of remember, but then you're not sure. And that memory of what you're longing or yearning, the soul is yearning, is that we are Source. That when we, here's Source, right? And at one point, Source started to split. And then those started to split. And then it's like, because without it, if we just stay in one frequency all the time of one, that's fine. It's lovely. But you don't get to have the experiences.
Right.
And it's the experiences that grow us, that give us something to say, wow, I want to know this. I want to feel it. I want to not only remember it, but I want to become something new from this experience. It's that newness. It's like that birthing, you know, the seed of your soul gets planted. I'm getting a little choked up here.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, I know you do. That's why I'm glad we're talking about this. So it's like the seed of your soul gets planted in a new life, whether it's a galactic life, a human life, a being of energy somewhere else. It's about the experience. So This year in particularly, I find myself doing something that's quite different than what I've been doing in the past, where, I work a lot with oracle decks and crystals and different practices. And I found myself this year putting all that to the side and just being with what is in the moment. Not that, and again, it's not that I don't appreciate the tools.
Right.
They're all good tools, but the tool of just pushing it all away for a moment and just sitting with the part of me that maybe I have forgotten, my divinity, or something within my divinity that wants to come forth, but I've been too busy focusing on my galactic life or angelic life. Well, in this life as the human Maryanne,
Right.
new experiences are being born. Opportunities are showing up. Some are not pleasant. Some are painfully, painfully challenging. And I know you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And going through crisis with my health and somehow coming through it and still alive and breathing. It makes me wonder, okay, well, that was another wave of extremism that I didn't think I would have to go through again, but okay, it showed up, and I honor myself now more than I have, and I stop berating and giving myself a hard time, because we're programmed to believe, well, if you repeat something that many times, then you didn't learn your lesson. To those of you who say that, that's not always true. Yes, of course, something might be showing up for us to take a look at, but
Right.
what if something keeps repeating itself? Because each time you experience it, you grow in a way that you've never grown before. And without it, you would never know what you know, because it's in the divine experience that the greatest teachings come, the wisdom that you can open up to. You're not going to get that if you don't have experiences. And I'm not saying that all experiences have to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
There's joy there too. But when the pain shows up, what it's taught me and helps me to remember is, how much more can I love myself through this experience? Can I show up right where I am in this pain, in this trauma, in this despair, and instead of saying, oh shit, why did this happen again? Or why is this happening? What did I do wrong? No. Yeah, I know it's my responsibility. I'm fully responsible for my life and the choices I make.
Mm-hmm.
But I have now come to that place of no more blame, no more shame. Show up, love yourself right where you are. Because if it's taught me anything, that's been the greatest teaching so far in this lifetime, is to show up and accept myself exactly where I am. And if someone said to me, well, I don't know how to do that. How do you do that? I said, well, I think it's different for each of us. But what I can say is, if you're unsure, just sit with yourself, put your hands on your heart and say, this is confusing, or I don't understand, or I don't know what to do. So you ask your soul self, your beautiful, divine self, your whole self, even, if there's anything I need to know, please guide me, please show me the way. Because I think there is no failure in that whatsoever, even if the answer doesn't come right away.
Right.
But we're here for the journey.
Mm-hmm.
We're here for the journey, and whatever shows up, we signed up for it. We volunteered.
Yes, I jokingly around, I keep saying, oh, when I go back up, I'm going to find me and beat myself up. Anyway, knock some sense into me.
Yeah, I think what happens too when we're going through these struggles and challenges is that you got to remember that, or remind myself that I'm not broken, or even if I am broken, however
Right.
way you want to look at it,
Right.
the pieces come back together with honoring and acceptance and trusting in myself and believing in myself. And when I can, I could say to Source, you know, I'm having a tough time down here.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to go through this alone. And that was the other thing that came up. Because when you're abandoned at a young age, like I was, you immediately, I never was in, it took me, and even till this day, I just turned 60 this year. I don't have an easy time being in body. But I remember one day saying to myself, well, but you are in a human body. You chose
Right.
to be in a human body. Can you, even when it's difficult, can you ground yourself and hold yourself? Like when I feel ungrounded, the best thing I find to do is this, to feel yourself holding you. Even though I know Source has got me,
Right.
but I want to physically, you know, remember we're physical.
Right. So you're
Right.
physically holding yourself.
You want to
So
feel like
right.
you're being held, like you
Right.
belong. And so I think this feeling of separation that many of us feel, because when we did split off from Source to come in and have these experiences,
Mm-hmm.
we don't, I believe, we don't totally lose the connection.
Right.
It's just that when you drop down into the density, the feeling of that lightness sort of dissipates because you're now in this density, and you have, you know, it's okay because that's part of it.
Right.
But you can remind yourself that yes, I split off from the greater source of life, but I'm still this beautiful spark.
Right.
I'm a spark of that bigger spark. And
Mm-hmm.
that means I could always, that's why when I put my hand through that pod, that was to remind me that it went and I felt the star, felt it.
Right.
That was to remind me, you're not as separated as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're not separate at all. It's just an illusion that, you know, we come down and programming and, you know, all kinds of things. You know, it could be forces that are not so nice that want us to believe we're less than.
Exactly.
And we are not. That's just a story that our psyche tells us that, oh, you're not good enough. You're not worthy. You can't do any of that. What makes you think you're good enough to even do that? You don't have a degree. Oh, but I have my life experiences and you can't touch that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
Nobody can touch that. We all have our beautiful and challenging life experiences.
Mm-hmm. And that's what keeps us, I believe, grounded and keeps us rejuvenated enough or energized enough to keep going and keep going forward.
I think Ascension is teaching us what not, I mean, of course, I'll speak for myself, but I see it with friends and clients and people I know that it's about healing that wound of separation that really is, you know, the wounds show up to help us remember that this is just part of it. You have to kind of like go through the separation. It's like you get jolted out of that comfort zone for good reason. You get jolted out of that comfort zone so you could say, wait a second, this is a bit frightening here, and you stay in that moment of despair and And then it can become so exhausting. The fatigue sets in, and you just finally, can you stop trying to run away, Maryanne? Can you just surrender and let
Mhm.
yourself, and literally, I let myself fall to the ground one day. I said, I cannot run from this. I have no energy in me left to do. So
Right.
now I'm going to stop. I'm going to surrender. I'm going to let myself fall apart if that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay too. Fall apart. Let yourself just fall away and be. Don't do a thing, but just be.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment of doing that, that's surrender and acceptance and knowing that I belong. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what's going on, I belong.
Yes. 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 And it's like when you do that, when you surrender, is acknowledging that you cannot control things.
Yes.
So acknowledging that, if they brought you here, source is not going to put you through such a terrible experience that you're not going to be able to handle it. You came here to experience whatever it was, and they'll get you through it.
That's right. I believe that. Even though and when you're in that moment of it,
Oh,
you know, if anybody were to say that to me, their heads would come off. What do you mean? Are you
right,
crazy? It's like,
right. Exactly, exactly. But and that's what the moment becomes. Once you get to that powerful moment where you surrender and you say, if they brought me here, they're going to get me through it. It's you may, you still have to go through your little bumps in the road, as I call them,
or big bumps
or
sometimes.
big bumps, whatever the case may be. It's that roller coaster, I don't know where it's going to be. But by going through that, it just cements the experience and gives you the knowledge and understanding of what you're going, why at this very moment you're going through it,
Yeah.
and why you're even going through it again, maybe. But it just maybe there's a deeper understanding that you need to obtain
Yes.
of that experience that you didn't the first time,
Right.
or
Or you
so
weren't. It wasn't time. Could have a lot to do with what's happening planetarily for you.
right, exactly.
It's like I was given a fifth cancer diagnosis last year. And I thought, oh my God, you're going to make me go through this again? Like, are you
Mhm.
kidding me? And of course, it's not. It's my higher power that's in charge here, not
Mhm.
like
Right.
nobody did it to me. But I will say this, each time I went through the diagnosis, I did get some new information. Or this time,
Mhm.
it was like getting a PhD in 2 weeks. It like all of a sudden, boom, it just all flooded in. And I thought, why didn't I know about this 10 years ago?
Mhm.
Because it wasn't time. It wasn't available. You weren't ready. Maybe now, because you have more information and more wisdom, you added this to it to give it, like, it's like you put the pieces of the
The
puzzle.
puzzle. Yep.
And that is now, do I know my fate? Do I know whether or not this is going to work this time around? Well, so far, I'm going through it, and I am, as of now, getting through it. So obviously something has shifted. Now I have no idea where it's taking me to, but what I do know, it doesn't matter because I'm on the journey doing exactly what my soul came in here to go through.
Mhm.
Whether I stay on the planet or leave through this dreadful dis-ease, whatever.
Right.
I learned that it doesn't matter because one thing I know, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. If it's not, it's not. When somebody
Mhm.
says to me, well, if you don't learn the lesson, do you want to live or do you want to die? That's not something you want to tell somebody who's going through that. And there are
Right.
people,
No.
they don't know any better, so I don't even hold it against them. But
Right.
that's not what it's about. Whatever you're dealing with, it could be, there's people, I have friends and family who've been through suicide attempts, and it's like, who am I to say to this person, you want to live or you want to die? Like, no, maybe this person is going through exactly what they need.
Mm.
And I show up and support them in however way they need it, not what I want for them. There's a lot of, sorry to say this, but a lot of the so-called woke communities, I don't think they're very woke at all. I
Mm.
think it's rather sad. I mean, we know the state of affairs right now, what's going on the planet is really over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I'm not letting that define me or deter me away from what my purpose is about.
Right. Well, you'll be amazed to find out that I also have gone through 5
I know when you
transitions.
told me that, I almost fell off the chair. I'm like, what? I thought
Yep.
I was the only one that went through it that many times and still stayed here. It's like,
Uh, yeah, I'm a hard-headed. Uh, but the last time I basically said, okay, what do we need to do? And just get it this over and done with. And just went through it. And then a year after, I said, no more cancer. I'm not going through it again. So I'm not accepting it. That's it. I think I paid more than my dues.
oh yeah, 5 times.
And
We paid our dues at 2 or 3. I think
yeah,
I say that.
and I also been dead, clinically dead with the paddles and all that, 6 times. So
Wow,
6 that have been clinically proved, documented. I
wow.
know there was 1 or 2 other times that I was out, and then I decided to come back in. But yeah, first few times they sent me back and said it's not your time yet. And the last time I said I kind of have to go back. I have my children, and I need to go back for them. And then my grandkids. I saw my grandkids coming, so I didn't want to miss that part. I said, "You make me go through a lot already. I want the pleasures now. I want the joys."
That's right. We've certainly earned our dues, and we
Yeah,
are here. You know, we're here for the joy. Yes,
right.
we have to go through the pain and the challenges too. That's part of it. But I believe that we don't have to allow it to define us. It comes
Exactly.
in, we go through, we go through. Like now, when something comes up, even with this more recent diagnosis, of course, at the beginning, I was overwhelmed again because I
Right.
thought, well, I thought I did everything right, but it wasn't about right or wrong. So now it's like, okay, I'm going to live my life while this is going on. I'm not
Hmm.
waiting
No.
for this to be gone. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I did not
Mhm.
stop. Now, what I mean by not stop, like I took care of myself,
Right. Right.
but I allowed myself to have the joy.
Exactly. And a lot of people say, well, um, we 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 always go through all this trouble. And I say, well, how are you going to appreciate when you're having a good day, when it's sunny outside, when it's beautiful, the weather is perfect, there's a nice breeze? How are you going to appreciate those days if we don't have the stormy days?
You wouldn't know. Yeah,
Exactly.
you don't know light without shadow. Period.
Exactly. Exactly. So you have to have the yin, the yang, you have to have the ups and the downs so you can actually acknowledge and not take everything for granted, really. Because if we had everything all perfect, perfect, perfect,
No, there would
we
be
would
no
be
appreciation at all.
no, and we would be basically robots. Just, oh, I get up, I do this, I do
Yeah,
that, I do this, I do that, and you know that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon you went out for a coconut or something. It's just you have to go through all that,
yeah,
and however you signed up for it.
I agree, and I think it's true. You have a deeper appreciation for life and the things that are truly important.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I could be a hard ass. I could really my Leo fire could really get and and
Mm-hmm.
and thank God for my moon being in Cancer because it softened me and going through these experiences helped to soften the hard edges. Even
Mm-hmm.
though those hard edges were necessary for me to get through my ups and downs in life because I had to be a brave soldier. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you fell out of the boat, you either sink or you swim.
Exactly.
And I had to. It's like that or I leave and okay, but I know I came here with a deeper purpose and I want to experience more of life here
Mm-hmm.
and whatever that is. It's not fun all the time, but when it is fun, wow, it outweighs the challenge.
Everything is. Yes.
Definitely. It's worth
Yes.
every minute of having that joy and that fun. And I think for a lot of people now, I'm noticing, including myself, expression of our creativity. Our
Mm-hmm.
creativity, when we are engaged in creativity of whatever that is for each of us, because we creativity can come in many forms. It's to me, I feel closer to source when I'm in my expression of creativeness.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's creative gives me that feeling of I'm not separated, I'm not alone, I'm not lost.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it does feel that way, but it's just like you said, gives us this deeper appreciation for life.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
is a blessing in it.
Definitely. Definitely. So we are coming close to the end, but is there anything that you want to mention that you haven't? I will have in the description your website so they can look you up and get in touch with you and see what stuff you are doing and what they could learn from you. Um, but is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to tell the audience?
I'd like to offer a beautiful universal light language transmission, a blessing. I work a lot with sound frequency, musical, rhythmic dance movement, frequency of light through speaking, through singing, because that's my creative expression of my soul. So I'd like to offer that, and what I'm hearing and feeling more so than hearing is that this is to help us remember that we're not alone, that separation that we believed is just to help us remember how loved we truly are because we were born as love.
Hmm.
We are pure love, even in the midst of the painful struggles. That love never dies. It's always alive, and we have the opportunity to thrive. So, this is to help us remember that we are not separate, we are not alone, and that we are here to tap in, to basically thrive in your aliveness. That's what I'm hearing. So all you have to do is take this in and receive it. And I'm hearing and feeling my Lemurian connection come in very strong. Also, there's a lot of Venusian, Pleiadian, a lot of the angelic Elohim energies coming in. I do feel a couple of Lyrans hanging out over here and a couple of Arcturians. And whoever else wants to show up, our ancestors, our allies. Shiaratuni shi kosono nair, shomalalo eilala. Akoi ji zarotano jevaru un era shamoneai. Ula yashandari an keresite arayashalua e kosonderivia. Viarasun ara arasea arakish ala lola le aliani. Caroso de ravishi ala lono ne akoroje. Manonea lo alua iana. Isht al karasut ore shimaro ia e quai. Ole aria shianyaro ole alai alalalai alalalai. Alu alala li la lo. Alu ali la lo le. Alu ali la lo. Alu hi. Alu si la lo. Yaniaron. Avora kashula irashimiaraya. Aniala un arakush alea siahit. Aravai aravish aninia. Aquaria shalom ayayo shialal. Alalaya ent oret et karvaseara. Arash ola eamona earud. Isisi kiriashiliaina. Aquaita aravata. Shoo niari shikish. We give thanks to all the beings of light, all the blessings, all the joy and love that is here for us to step into that, to remember who you are. Beautiful beings of Source Creator, making such a beautiful difference by being here. We give thanks. Aluariata, aluayerata, aluayerata, arakata. And so it is. Blessed be. Amen.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Maryanne. This has been great. And please keep being here and sharing your gifts and your wisdom. And I want to thank the audience for being here. And please go to her site and look at the other stuff that she's doing and join and subscribe or email her.
Thank you for having me here, Glenda. Thank you for having this beautiful platform, sharing your light, giving us a space to express ourselves and share, and to the beautiful audience. I hope I get to know you all, and anything that I can do to be of support, please reach out. And I give thanks for this time, and many bright blessings to each of you. Lots of love. Be kind to yourself.
Thank you again. And to my audience, as always, I love you. Bye.
Bye.